All right, here we go. Please subscribe to the channel. Please.
Hey guys, YouTube's got an algorithm and it'd really help us out a lot if you could like, comment, and subscribe. This is how we can get more information out to more people and share the message of Toronto real estate.
In
Thanks.
that order. Like, comment, subscribe, and hit the damn bell.
Freaking sponsored like a NASCAR event with all these logos everywhere.
A lot of logos, but if we're gonna have so many logos, maybe we should try and get some other people's logos.
Yeah. Well, we're looking for sponsors. I mean, I'm putting that out there. And
Yes, we are.
if somebody's looking to get exposure to millions, basically
Billions
people
of
of people who would want to hire them for their services.
I think that's
contacts. Matt's got some. Oh, the passcode.
Passcode.
Yeah, let me send him the passcode.
You
The
have it.
passcodes, like you've been really encrypting the passcodes lately. Like
He's got it. He's got it. It has nothing to do with me. It just the calendar makes it.
Yeah. It's like capital letter, small letter, number, like that. Like it. Just make it like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Daryl, who's trying to break into our Zoom meetings?
Do I get to pick the passwords? Is there a way?
In my Zoom account.
Yeah, but you have all of them set at the same one.
No, I don't.
Hello.
Matt, what's going on?
Nice
Welcome.
To meet you.
He's
Awesome.
got the headphones on and everything.
Well, I
Look
was
at
watching some
this.
shows. I see this is how you do it, so I had
How
to.
it's done. Yep.
That's right.
High level stuff.
That's right.
Awesome.
We're rolling right away. We go right into it. So
No problem.
we're recording.
That's fine. Let me get a cool background going so I can partake in that whole.
We're gonna teleport you into the studio.
Yeah. I like it. Can I set my own? Can I do my own? I'm gonna throw in a shameless plug in here. See?
Oh, here we go. There, that's good.
Oh, touche.
That's good.
Touche.
I like it.
Custom built. So Matt, I'm gonna do a
so
quick
many questions.
Intro for you here. Okay, so Matt Jackowitz, owner of Four Seasons Sunrooms. He has been in the Four Seasons Sunroom business now for well over a decade. He basically runs the town when it comes to adding more square footage on your personal residence throughout the GTA. He's also a great hockey player. And today, is this your first podcast?
My first podcast. Yeah, that would be my first. Yeah.
So we're popping his podcast cherry.
Forgive
the term.
I feel so fortunate.
I'll tell you, I was a little nervous signing on. I mean, you guys got some views. You guys been doing this for a while, and like, this is new to me. I was like a little bit like, oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. How's this going to work?
You're join the club. Expert today.
Yeah, join the club. we feel the same way every Sunday.
Yeah,
I like it.
So happy Sunday.
No, it's a good look. It's a good look. I'm glad you guys are doing this.
Well,
so what do you got on the go right now? What do you got on the go right now? You got some projects right now you're working on?
Yeah, we've never been busier. Needless to say, COVID's been good for our industry. People staying home, wanting to improve their homes, additional living space, something that's maybe different and unique is helpful, which is kind of what we offer. So we've never been busier. The biggest challenge is having enough people to do the work. And that's where our biggest struggles are, I think, right now, is just catching up with all the backlog that we have and the skill that's required to install some of our things. Training somebody new is a long journey. And having a lack of people interested in the trades is definitely hurting the industry, I think, across the board. I think everybody's feeling that, not just us.
Yeah, you can just look behind you, right? In this background you've got, it's not just a bunch of 2x4s and drywall where if you make a mistake, you can just cover it up later on and make up for it, right? It's very precise.
It has to be very precise. Yeah, 1 inch off at the bottom, you're 3 inches off at the top, and then the glass doesn't fit. Yeah. And there's no opportunity to shave or trim the glass. That's it. You're stuck. So it has to be
looks
done.
Familiar. That looks familiar. Yeah. That's the same room, just different angle.
Same room. Yeah. So that's actually in Whitby. That's over in the Taunton area there. That one's in Mississauga.
So let me ask you a question. I don't even know who would have the answer. You would probably have. Does this count as square footage now?
Absolutely.
Above grade square footage,
It does.
Yep.
as long as it's heated.
Hold on.
Yep.
That was my next question. Is this heated?
Well, that's something I'd actually like to understand a little bit more. And I don't know if I know that right answer because I've heard mixed perspectives on it. So whether it's heated or unheated, my understanding is it still adds to the square footage of the home from a tax perspective.
You know what? You're right. You're absolutely right. So the
Like
Toronto
this
Real
looks
Estate
like it's
Board,
part of the house, right?
the
That's
Canadian
part of
Real
the
Estate Association, everybody's got their own opinion on square footage, MPAC, and all that kind of stuff. So there's definitely it's a gray line where, you know, if you go and build a little lean-to on the side of your house and put some plastic curtains on it, and you're like, look, I just added 100 square feet to my house, no one's going to accept that, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you do something really epic, and just because it's not got its own heat, and it's obviously sharing off the main space, no one's going to say, oh, you know, that doesn't count as square footage.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. I think there's definitely a difference between like a seasonal space and something that is truly a year-round addition to your home.
Like this
Yeah.
one when you're in right now, live inside currently, this one is part of the house, right?
Correct.
So like
Okay.
that has to
Beautiful.
be heated. Yeah, it's amazing. So
Yeah.
these are like thermal windows, keep like they're fully insulated, triple pane, double pane.
Talk
Typical,
about glass.
yeah, typically double pane. Triple
Double
pane
pane.
is starting to I think become more normal slowly, and as they move to net zero, eventually that will become the standard. The challenge for us is one, the cost is going to be huge increases to go to triple glazed, but also the labor, you know, to get a triple pane piece of glass up to the roof. And in this case, what's behind me is a second story application. So that was done over a walkout basement kind of extension. And
Oh shoot.
so to get a triple pane piece of glass all the way and install it into the ceiling is extremely labor intensive to do that, and going to be a lot harder than a double glazed piece of glass.
More
And what's the
engineering
efficiency?
too.
And what's the efficiency advantage? Like how much really?
You
Someone
might
Gotta
get?
be,
be
you might be,
huge.
you might be able to double your R value potentially.
Yeah,
Wow.
man. Like imagine in the summer how much extra air conditioning that space needs to keep up with the rest of the house, right?
Well, here we go. So now let's get into glass.
Okay.
So not all glass is created equal,
Uh,
right? So yeah, if you use the wrong kind of glass or your typical window glass, say low energy efficient glass to build a glass room, you know, you might find that it's not as comfortable as you'd like it to be in the summer or in the winter. It's really not been designed for a glass room, right? So what Four Seasons has done is partnered with Cardinal. Cardinal is one of North America's largest glass manufacturers. And I don't know if this still happens, but there was a point where literally they just shut down every Tuesday and just made Four Seasons glass. Like that's how much buying power Four Seasons has when it comes to glazing. And so the glass that's in these rooms is specifically designed for a glass room to make it as efficient as possible in the summer and in the winter throughout North America.
yeah, like
Okay.
this, but
Wow.
what you're in right now, like when I think of sunrooms, that ain't it, man. Like when I think of sunrooms, it's like one of those, you know, like
Your
cheap.
yeah.
Yeah, like this is unbelievable. I went
It's
on.
like an
I went on
atrium.
not an eight. It's like
Well,
I don't.
this
It's
is
an outdoor, indoor, like unbelievable living space. Like imagine having that. That's unreal. Imagine eating breakfast in there every day. That'd be
well,
sweet.
it's technically a conservatory or a solarium if you want to consider that.
Conservatory. Yeah.
Yeah. So sunrooms typically have like a solid roof of some sort, lots of windows with a lot of light. They
How
can be
much is that?
seasonal.
How much is something
Uh,
like that there?
That's a loaded
He
question.
can
With
No,
a
give
lot
that
you
of
a
one
quote.
answers.
there.
He can give you a quote.
If
I
I
can give you a
had that
quote.
exact, if I wanted to make that exact space, what would it cost me right now?
So that's a good question, because I'll tell you that exact room on your home might be a different price than
Right.
it was on this home. And the reason for that is every construction project is different because every home is different. So the
Sure,
type of foundations that we put in, the way we have to connect it to the home is maybe different. Say if it's a brick veneer home versus a siding home or a stucco
Yeah.
home. So there's
What's
little differences that could impact the cost of something.
Yeah. So what's like my cheapest way of getting that added onto my house?
Um, so that's also a loaded question.
Are we
Just
talking
six-
like
just six figures.
200,000, 100,000, 50,000? some
I'd
kind
say
of range.
so that's a multi-level question with multi-level answers. And let me just explain. So the last 8 months have been very interesting because the cost increases that we've received from suppliers and just on materials alone have significantly increased
Yeah.
to nothing that I've seen in the past. And I'm
No,
talking
crazy
about,
levels.
on standard building materials like your aluminum sidings, your aluminum fascia products, and just some of those parts and components from some of your typical suppliers that everybody gets supplies from. They've had like 10 increases this year alone
Yeah.
in the last 8 months. And so like I think I just received an email last night with another increase coming from the same supplier. And
Well,
so
all I'm trying to do, I'm not trying to put you on the spot by giving me a price. I'm trying to figure out like how this adds value to a house. So for example, if I was going to put on this space, am I better off putting it with one of these sunrooms, or am I better off building it traditionally for the increase of maybe price or a decrease in price? I don't know, but I imagine TK being able to put a conservatory like this on a listing would be a little more impressive than just, like another family room. It's just a family room, right?
yeah, and so let me try to answer it this way maybe. Glass is one of the more expensive materials that you can put on a home. So typically a glass structure would be more expensive than your traditional type of addition. What it gives you is a completely different viewpoint and a perspective,
Yeah.
a different wow factor that maybe you don't get with a traditional type of addition.
I
Yeah.
love looking at the background that you've got right now.
Look at this.
Me too.
But yeah, I
know what
mean,
it is.
you can't do this in like a subdivision. Not most of
Um,
them, anyways. Like
makes it
when you
makes it
when you
more
have a
challenging.
100-foot lot, yeah. But
Yeah,
this
it
is
makes it
for
more
when you
challenging.
have a view like this. I mean, this is
You know what? I'd say that's subjective also because it depends on where you're building. I
right.
find that so there's a conservation, or I believe what used to be a conservation or deemed conservation behind this property. So we actually built 3 doors over about 3 years later, and we didn't have to go through the conservation process that we did for this project. So the rules change and the rules are different. But what I found is that in a perfect setting, like in a conservation area, the rules are a little bit tighter, and you can typically do less. So it might actually be harder to get approval in a conservation area
Oh
where
yeah, way
these rooms
harder.
are like, this is like the perfect setting for this, but sometimes it's just a really uphill battle to get approval. TRCA and some of those conservation areas are very particular in what they want
They're a
from a builder.
nightmare. Yeah, they're a
Yeah.
fucking
I
nightmare.
didn't want to go there because if I could,
Yeah.
if I could speak my mind, there might be some expletives flying out of my mouth
We
here.
have such a audience. There's a good
You
chance
are-
that a member of the TRCA boards is listening right now. So
That's
we got to
right.
chill. We love you,
Yes,
TRCA.
we
Approve our
do.
projects.
Yeah,
And
make it
don't-
easier, please.
We're not
So
allowed
just
to say fuck.
quickly about the glass, so then I can move on, so that all these little areas in my head are going to be answered. The
No problem.
glass. The difference is obviously the thermal, like the R value, right? So
So
that's one.
yeah, and so one thing to take note is, when building departments look at the glass, they don't typically look at R value. They look at U value, which is the inverse or the reverse of R value, I believe. So it's the U values, some of the percentage in the codes that are on the glass that are important.
Is that
And that's
reflecting UV light? Is that what it is, or what is it?
pretty much, yeah, pretty much.
So
So
how
reflecting
much
the
light it
heat and UV.
reflects?
Yeah, and then how much heat is absorbed through the glass, etc. So
So in the winter time, you want to be absorbing heat from the sun, and in the summertime, you want to be reflecting the heat away.
correct.
And so you have to find a balance so that obviously it has benefits during both extreme weathers.
Correct.
Okay,
So
so that's the value. The U value is a higher end glass will have a higher U value rating,
correct.
which means that it's making it a lot better all year round, as opposed to just keeping in or out the heat, whatever.
Correct. And with that in mind, it will have an R value that way as well, right? So
Yeah.
the glass that Four Seasons uses has specific coatings that reflect heat and UV,
Yeah.
and they have different properties for the roof and for the walls. Because the sun is lower in the horizon in the winter, the walls are actually designed to allow some of that warmth to come through.
Yeah.
Where again, in the summertime, it's the reverse. The sun is more intense, it's higher in the sky, and that's where that roof is more reflective.
Okay, perfect. I put a film on the front window that I have because we wanted it to reflect and UV and all that kind of stuff, and it worked really, really well.
Yep.
It didn't affect
Those,
my view, but
yep.
it was a noticeable difference in the glare from outside, so that it's kind of a mirror, not a mirror finish, but you can't see inside, and the heat coming in the summertime, it doesn't get as hot anymore in that bay window.
Yep, those 3M filters are really good for stuff like that as an after the fact.
Yeah.
That you
But
can
your
just,
glass is the obvious. It's included in that, right? So
yeah, and it comes like that from the factory. It's got a great warranty, great guarantee against seal failures and breakage. So there's definitely value in doing a solarium the right way
yeah.
with the right glass. Yeah.
And glass. So now I'm a real estate agent. I've seen the 1970s solariums and sunrooms with the glass and the foam seals all wavy, and you look
Sure.
at it and you go, "Oh my God, that's crazy! Like that's going to cost a fortune. You might as well just rip the whole entire thing down and build new." What
Yeah.
have they done to solve that?
Well, so that wavy stuff that you're probably seeing is something called heat mirror. Heat mirror is a glass that is a performance glazing and used a lot in condos and some of these custom higher end type of solarium approaches. The landscape actually changed about 2 years ago. The company that was making them in Mississauga went under. The owner ended up passing away, and then there was no succession plan for the company. So I don't know what happened with it, but I believe it folded. And they were one of 3 manufacturers in North America that made heat mirror glazing. So I don't know who does it now, except for one place in Aspen, I believe in Colorado, somewhere in Colorado that they make it. But that glass isn't widely used, not really something that most people would typically use today. So you wouldn't really see those types of seal failures happening like in the future, because there's not a lot of people putting that glass in. It was great at performance, but the longevity of that glass wasn't great. And that's something that Four Seasons actually did use prior in the past, about 20 plus years ago. But when they went to this new technology, that all that kind of went away.
Okay. All right. So it sounds like the glass is going to be a better product now today, which is good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And actually they're making some tweaks to their product offering, and we're talking about doubling the lifetime of their warranty. So it used to be a 20-year, 100% coverage against seal failures and breakage. And actually, as of, I believe this year, it's 40 years.
Because that's important. I think the number one concern of people building with glass is that, right? Everything else, it's like, I know that wall with the brick and the drywall and everything is going to stand the test of time. But that glass, how long is that glass going to last? And that's, I guess, the concerns that the industry's had, and you guys have solved it. Well, the glass industry solved
absolutely.
it.
And everything has a lifespan. So, at some point, the glass might fail, the seal might fail. That is covered under the Four Seasons warranty in this case. But typically, the structure is intact. So all you have to do is replace the glazing.
It'll last longer than the person who's paying for it.
Typically,
that's the main thing. I just want things to last longer than me. That's it.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? That's it.
Well, at your rate, with all the jiu-jitsu you're doing, I mean,
it's pretty much everything will last longer than me.
It's not, and it's not affected by the chip shortage, which is
No.
a wonderful industry to be in. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. What about approvals then? So approval, this is a Toronto real estate show. So people are building, people are getting additions done, people are new construction, all that kind of stuff. How has that changed recently? What's the status on getting jobs approved?
You need the same approval as you would a normal addition for something like this?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is just like building a regular addition, and it's considered, an extension of the home. So the same rules apply. And the biggest challenge, because you're expanding the footprint of the home, is to make sure that you comply with whatever bylaws are in that area or in that municipality. And Toronto, let me just be clear. Are we talking about just Toronto, or are we talking about, say, the outskirts of Toronto
Everywhere.
or the GTA? So there's different rules, right? Toronto itself as a municipality has a different rule than, say, Markham or Durham or Pickering or Ajax. So their bylaws are actually more complicated than some of the other outskirt areas. The best thing to do in Toronto, in my opinion, would be to
build without a permit.
That's the easiest thing to do. I mean, definitely not.
That's the best thing to do. Just put the sucker up and hope your neighbors don't say anything. You're in the backyard with the ravine. Who's going to notice?
You'd be surprised how many people have actually done that over the course of the years, because we see so many homeowners and we see so many things that people have done on their homes
Yeah.
That is mind-boggling what people do get
Tell the
away with.
contractors to park down the street, get a wheelbarrow, and wheel it down there so that nobody knows that they're outside working on your house for the next 9 months. No,
Correct.
no, no.
Correct. If
Right,
only
you
it was
heard-
that easy.
Yeah. All right.
I
sorry.
don't recommend that. It's always better to go the legal way to do it, the right way to do it. It can be a little bit more time consuming, a little bit more painful in some cases because it can be a process and daunting.
Yeah.
But so again, Toronto has different rules, Markham has different rules, Vaughan has different rules. So that can be confusing depending on where you're building, right?
Mhm.
What's required is a building permit for the structural aspect of what you're building. But in order to obtain a building permit, you need to comply with zoning rules and bylaws. So things like, am I allowed to cover this much of my lot? Am I allowed to be this close to my side or rear property line? Right?
Yep.
And Toronto
Height.
has other
Yeah.
things like heights and length of dwelling and gross floor area and landscape percentages and these kind of things. And if you're over, or if you're in, I wouldn't say it's violation of the bylaw, but if you're over, say, those percentages that you're allowed, you'd get into what's called a committee of adjustment or a minor variance type of application. So that's really seeking relief of the bylaw.
Are those still on YouTube and online and all that now?
I believe everything is virtual.
They haven't gone back to, which is amazing, Daryl. Daryl does development. What do you think about an online committee of adjustment meeting? Is that not the best for developers?
I had an online pre-consultation meeting, and it seemed like it was a pretty efficient use of time. I mean,
right?
The city workers did not necessarily fully understand how to use the system at that point in time, which they may have figured out by now. Although when I see my son's online school, you would be shocked at how they have no idea what they're doing. But anyways, I mean, all it is a Zoom call, right?
Yeah. It's definitely more efficient, you could say.
You don't have to drive there, wait there
correct.
for your turn. It's like, it's your turn. Everybody's there. Nobody has to go get caught in traffic, find parking.
There's one issue though. There's one issue. It makes it easy for the neighbors to show up and complain.
Right. So much easier.
That makes it easier for them to just come and like, I heard there was a Zoom meeting tonight. Yeah. What are they building? I don't like that. That doesn't suit the neighborhood. I don't think that'll be good for the neighborhood. It's like, do you live in the neighborhood?
Yeah. Let's get on. What's that code? What's that code, Norm? Let's get on there and block these goddamn developers fucking up our sight lines.
Right?
Fucking up my shade. Fucking up my sunroom view, motherfuckers.
That's right.
Merle, you just built the sunroom last year, but I should be the only one out there enjoying the outdoors.
We're here to vote for all of those with sunrooms against the development of this ridiculous mid-rise building.
So
we don't get that much backlash, but we get some.
No,
we get some.
No. But it's just one of those things.
I'll tell you though, I preferred them in person actually. Especially when they're more complicated, when they're difficult applications, or you have a lot of variances, or maybe there's not a clear cut and dry, say, approval of a project.
You had to wait there the whole day for your turn. They didn't give you a time; they gave you a day. So if you were the last guy, you had to watch like the stupidest.
It's entertaining, I'll tell you.
It's entertaining, but it's
so
a whole
fun to watch the stupid ones. Like they're on YouTube now. You can just listen to them. It's on YouTube.
That's true.
It's great though. It's like when you go for a parking ticket and you're last, you actually gain you gain an edge because you hear all the idiots and what they fuck up, and you hear what the judge is like willing to what he's okay with, and you go up there yourself. You go, I'm okay.
I ran the red light.
I ran it, but I'll give you $4 and I'll spread it over 18 months. Is that okay? Boom. We're good. Let's go.
That's it.
That's
the planning.
That's right. That's right.
In person though, what I would like about in person is that I get to use more of like a like a charm, right? Like I get to talk face to face, look them in the eyes, show them I'm serious, show them that I'm not trying to like skirt
It's
the
more
system.
personable.
I'm really trying to be like accommodating here for everybody, and I could communicate that better in person than I
Correct.
could
You can
online.
engage in a better conversation. You
Yeah.
could it's just more personable that way. And even with obtaining building permits, Toronto has moved online for a few years now in terms of submission for building permits. But before COVID, you were able to walk into a municipality and go ask a question of a planner or an
Something
examiner,
wrong.
and it
Yeah.
was very easy to
And
do
get
that.
the wrong
Now,
information in person. It was
sure,
great. It
Not
was
sure,
always.
perfect.
sure.
And then all of a sudden, it's like
I love that.
I spoke to Mark last week. Who's Mark?
That's
The
right. He's
guy with the
nowhere to-
goatee. Who? Who? Mark, the guy with the he was here. The janitor? You spoke to the janitor? What's wrong with you? He told me
Yeah.
I could do it though.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I
So
think it's better now. You do a great presentation. You have all kinds of information at your fingertips. People can draw and stuff and be creative together. I don't remember that level of creativity and information at a live event. If you didn't have something with you, you're screwed.
I'll tell you what though, I had a committee of adjustment that was about 6 months in the making because we were waiting so long for that date, and this was last year actually, so at like the peak of COVID, and they didn't realize, or whoever set up the web link didn't realize that I was the speaker. And so when it came my turn to speak, which was about 2 hours into the meeting, they were looking for somebody else. And because I was there muted and I wasn't allowed to talk, if you've ever seen the movie Get Out, where he falls into that dark void and he can't speak to anybody, that's kind of how I felt. So for about 20 minutes, they were looking for the speaker for this application, and there was nobody around. And I'm sitting there trying to wave and like, find me, and like, I can't even talk.
Yeah.
And so that part is really frustrating
anybody
when they
hear me?
get the tech wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Good point. Yeah. So there's a few hiccups that will obviously come up.
Yeah.
But as far as the average application, I think that if it's pretty clear cut, the online committee of
Yeah,
adjustment meeting is
it's
the way to
definitely made
go.
it more effective and efficient for sure.
What about LPAT? Have you had to go to LPAT for anything?
Unfortunately, we have. It's not something that I enjoy. We've gone, I think, 5 times over the course of the 12 years that I've been doing this, or 13 years now.
But OMB you went to before.
Yeah, so it was
What about-
OMB and then LPAT or T-Lab in Toronto.
Okay.
And
E-Labs
I guess,
residential. Yeah.
yeah, I guess we've gone to all 3 of them, if that's the case, or if there's some differences there.
Yeah.
That is a much more involved process, especially after it changed from OMB to L-Lab or T-Lab.
Just because you got to bribe the guys who are on the council, like, is it?
Well, no, I mean, it all depends again on what you're seeking approval for and who is appealing the decision, because really that's what it is. So if you get denied at committee of adjustment, you can appeal that decision and take it to a higher body, which is the L-Lab or T-Lab. And at that stage, let's just say the municipality was totally against your application. They might defend their position. And when they defend their position, they're going to bring an expert planner and they're going to bring a lawyer to defend, because this is a legal process. So in order to have a good defense or an argument, you might want to have a lawyer and a planner present. The costs of a lawyer and a planner can be very expensive. And so in addition, we were talking about what the cost of certain projects are. Let's just say a typical addition is $100,000. To spend $15,000 or $20,000 for a planner and a lawyer with no guarantee of approval is a difficult pill to swallow, I think, for a lot of homeowners, because planner might want $10,000 to do an OMB application. A lawyer might want $5,000 to do that application with no guarantee of approval.
Of course. What's your percentage like wins when you have to appeal it?
So we actually went and we represented the homeowners ourselves without any
Hold on,
legal
no.
representation.
A more fair question would be like on a reasonable ask, right? Because like some people will go in for something that like there's no way in hell anybody on the team thinks is ever going to happen, and you can't really count that against the contractor.
Good point. Good point. Rephrase the question. How many ones that you thought you should win did you win?
Well, the 5 times that we went to that process, we lost one. So we were 4 out of 5.
That's pretty good.
Now,
Right.
uphill battles, completely stressful, extremely time consuming, not something that
Should have been
that
5
I
out
would
of
want to
5.
go through again. Yeah. Should have been. And it was the strangest thing. We were just enclosing a back porch that was the structure was already there. And the municipality was completely against it. And there was a whole long history to that area, to that development that happened in that neighborhood, which is why we got shut down.
Conservation involved?
Nope. Nope. Had nothing to do with that. It just had everything to do with
Heritage, stupidity.
no. So this was in Stouffville. The development or the neighborhood that was approved pushed limits, and because they pushed limits and
Already.
they approved, the neighborhood was not happy with this development. So anything added to those homes is
Yeah.
like a no-no. And in this case, again, we were just enclosing a back porch,
Yeah.
and it got denied.
Yeah. Ouch.
Yeah. So understanding the rules of the property and the neighborhood are really important. And so doing some investigative work, I think, is a great step forward in terms of just trying to understand what someone's getting into. And so whenever we get a project, we try to do the very bare minimum from a planning and design perspective, which is just let's get a site plan together. We'll do some basic elevations of the concept that you want to build, and let's take it to the city and do a zoning review. That zoning review basically tells us what variances we may or may not have, what other regulatory bodies might be involved, conservation, site plan control, heritage, or God knows what else. And there you can kind of know, okay, so do we have an uphill battle? Is this an easy application? Is the design right? Maybe do we have to adjust the design to avoid some of these approvals?
So this is all like planning and construction and obviously like luxury lifestyle and things like that too. Now you're a real estate investor, so you have a good understanding of like why I'm buying real estate. It's going to end up being, making sense for me at the end of the day for my pocketbook, right? So like, how do you look at these sunrooms, conservatories, and any other additions that you guys do as far as the investment side goes towards people's properties?
Well, we might have a biased take on that. Adding
Thanks for admitting that.
no problem.
Yeah.
I mean, adding additional living space, I don't think hurts the resale value of a property. I think it definitely helps. To what level and degree, I think is subjective. I think it would be subjective based on the area, but also what you're actually adding, I think is big, because you can definitely overbuild for the neighborhood. And in that case, your investment might not go as far as it should, or
Do
maybe
you take that into consideration when people are talking to you? Like, do you guys say like, look, what you're building here, you're probably, not going to get your money back if you guys decide to sell down the road. Do you maybe want to shrink it down or redesign, or like, is that ever a factor? And how many people are concerned about that when they're talking to you about building these things?
you know what? That's a good question. I'll tell you, I've been out of the direct sales aspect of it now for a few years, so I'm not that involved with your day-to-day client in terms of that. So are they asking for that? Do they have concerns about that? I believe they do. And look, putting, a $250,000 conservatory on the back of your home might not go as far as, you know, doing it for 100 grand if you could, like as an example. Like depending on how much you dress up an addition with all the bells and whistles, in-floor heating, that linear fireplace behind me is probably about $10,000 after it's all said and done, like with all the finishes
The
and
stone
everything.
and everything.
So like little bells and whistles can really expand a project. And this is a lifestyle choice, right?
That's the thing. This is a personal choice. I think if anybody is worried about what it's going to do to the resale value, they're probably not the best candidate for this, because the next guy may not want this room, right?
Mhm.
The next guy buying it may not see value in it, may actually see the opposite of value in it, right? This is a detriment to the sale for some people, right?
That could be possible, but it also could be the reverse, right? We like to look at these as like little gems, because you don't see a conservatory on every property in every neighborhood.
Sure.
They're kind of just there in certain neighborhoods and certain areas on, maybe 1 out of 25 homes maybe has a conservatory. So that could be a unique selling proposition when you're selling the home. If
For
that
sure.
project, if
For
that addition
sure.
is done
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. I think,
Right.
I don't think it'll ever hurt. I think depends on, so I agree with everything you guys are saying. And I think it's a lifestyle. And if you're planning on doing this for like some sort of financial gain, like you're going to sell the house for more.
Yeah,
It's not a product.
that's not
It's
what.
not the
Yeah,
thing. Yeah.
and so
But
when people
twen-
have asked that, we've always said, look, if you're doing this just to flip the home, this is probably
Yeah.
not the right thing for you to do. But if you want
Yeah.
to stay in here and
Change the
live and
countertops or
enjoy,
something.
yeah, if you want to live and enjoy in this space, then yeah, let's do it. Let's build you a great addition.
Yeah.
But if you're just going to
20
flip
years
it,
later, when you're selling and
Yeah.
you spent, okay, obviously with inflation and the cost and everything, 20 years ago, you might have spent $70,000 on that project, right? Because of
Yep.
cost of materials and all
Sure.
that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And now you've enjoyed it for 20 years. You'll probably get your money back. You'll probably get
Absolutely.
a $50,000 to $70,000 bump down
Plus
the road.
you got to use it for the last
Plus
20
you got
years
to
and
use
enjoy
it.
it.
So
Yep.
someone spending 200 grand today, 20 years later, when their house price is now $2.5 million,
Yeah.
you probably could get 150 to 200 grand more for their house because of that addition
Absolutely.
being there, because it's more square footage, it's nice, and people will obviously be able to change the flooring, change the stone, do things to it to modernize the house again, because 20 years later it would be out of style.
Has
Absolutely.
anybody ever flown through one of these things by accident, like playing football in the living room and Johnny goes through the sunroom?
Not that I heard
Have
of.
you ever had a service call saying, there's blood everywhere, Johnny's bleeding, help?
What's the warranty say about that?
Thank God, no.
Nice pass, Scott, but Johnny's gonna die.
So no blood. Thank
Yeah.
God, no, because all that glass is tempered safety glass, so it's not going to cut you if it
So
breaks.
if you smash into it, it just shatters into little pieces, and you're
Little
standing
pellets,
there
yeah.
going, "What
That's
the
right.
hell just happened?"
That's right.
There was a guy passed away on a construction site a couple months ago from a big piece of glass that fell from the crane. Right,
Sure.
I saw
Oh my
someone posting that the
God.
other day. Glass is dangerous.
Yeah,
It is
it can.
serious.
There was
serious-
so on the room that we're actually that you're looking at in behind me. When we were building that project, thank guys, my guys were actually there. This was around 6:30, I believe, 6 or 6:30, I believe, on a Friday or a Thursday. So they were just about packing up and going home. There was landscapers working on the property because there was like a pool going in and a cabana and stuff like that as well. And one of the gentlemen slipped off the two-step ladder and fell right onto a rebar that was sticking out of the ground. And thank God my guys were there because they called the ambulance. There was a lot of blood then, and that gentleman, thank God that the
okay.
ambulance came quickly. Yeah, he's okay, but it did some damage. It did some damage.
You
So
think? Oh my!
accidents can happen.
Construction. There's a reason, Matt, that you're working in the office. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh
that's
my
right.
God!
There's a reason you have a labor shortage. Okay, guys, let's call a spade here, right? It's a
Yeah.
dangerous job working with your
It
hands
is.
on
It is.
projects.
What
It
did
is,
it?
yeah.
What did it go through?
I believe his spleen.
Spleen.
Yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't good. It wasn't good. It was definitely a scary situation. My guys were calling, freaking out.
Oh my
They
God,
were-
that's horrible.
Yeah.
I when I was in construction, the worst thing that ever happened on any of my job sites is our laborer was closing the garage door, and it was like an old school wood one with like different, panels, and he caught his finger in between.
Ooh.
And it was like an electric one. He couldn't open it. So he's
Ooh.
like sitting there on the phone with me going, my finger's stuck. I can't feel it. There's blood everywhere. Somebody help me. And I'm like on the other side of the city. It was pretty crazy. It's intense. Like when something bad goes wrong.
My worst is we were 19 and we were doing a job in Niagara Falls, and there was scaffolding, and it's like 6 o'clock in the morning. Everyone was drinking the night before, no sleep. The guy's walking with the scaffolding on the wheels with all the metal piled up on top because it would extend up another 2 levels, and 2 of them just slid off and just chopped off the 2 tops of his fingers.
Oh,
And
no.
drove him to the hospital, and that was the end of it. And it was like,
Oh.
pretty sure that was like the last job I ever did.
Yeah,
Oh,
construction
sure.
is dangerous, and safety
Yeah.
is, safety should be very important on every job site. And
Yeah.
You have to
and
take
knock
serious
on wood,
precautions.
we've
Robots though. How could robots help
however,
Matt's
however,
business, Darryl?
robots.
How could robots help him?
Are you kidding me?
I would
Are you
love
kidding
that.
me?
Yeah, explain it.
Listen, right now we could have, I think, one robotic arm on site, one of those big, one of these guys, and it could just piece that whole thing together with some software. I mean, the foundation, I guess, would have to get built for it.
3D
You
printed.
could piece that thing together, 3D print the foundation. I mean, there's a whole lot of ways. But it probably isn't quite there yet for this application. That's for damn sure. Although I imagine you could prefabricate most of this and like crane it together on site, couldn't you?
We've thought about that, and there are some companies that do prefab and crane panels to the job site and then assemble there. I think our biggest issue, again, these things have to be watertight. So if you're talking about, craning in over a glass roof that's completely sealed, all that
gotta-
movement
gotta
could cause
patent
some of the
something.
seals.
You got to patent like a Tupperware where it's just like,
That's right.
right?
I'd look,
Like
I'd
a
look at
lid.
what Japan, Korea, China, I'd see what they're doing, and
Yeah.
follow their
Europe.
glass.
The future's
yeah.
not far away, and it's just a matter of time before some of those things do trickle down to residential home construction.
So what about solar panels being integrated into this? Is that happening? Is that a thing?
Well, so interestingly, Four Seasons used to do a solar panel aspect to some of their sunrooms. This was like before my time. I remember looking through old brochures and catalogs where they did have mention of that, but they weren't see-through panels. Now, with what Elon Musk has done with his solar tiles and some of the technology that's around the corner on glazing, on glass itself, I think that is definitely a future potential and something
Imagine.
I would be so interested in that, because I think that room could sustain itself and
It'll pay
help
for
power.
itself.
A
Absolutely.
glass, right? A
Absolutely.
glass, see-through
They
glass.
have it.
That
They
was
have
also a
it.
solar panel on
I
the
don't
on
think-
the conservatory.
Yeah,
No,
I
they
don't think
have
it's a
like
ba-
railings now that do it on the sides of buildings. They
The
have
railings, yeah.
clear glass. I don't know if it like has R value like you need.
Yeah, but
or
for the
U
conservatory,
value.
that application would be
That
like you
would
said,
be
self-sustainable,
huge.
right? You get guys
Yep.
to come in and you say like, look, it's going to heat itself, it's going to power itself, it's going to pay for itself, it's going to transfer, store power, whatever. Like that would
Oh
be
yeah,
an
that's game
incentive to
changer.
install
Yep.
them, right?
Absolutely.
Get a tax break on it.
Yep.
Tax
It's
break,
just a
green
matter of
energy, get a
Yeah.
power wall, feed energy into the system, make some money. Whoa!
That's right.
Whoa, live off the grid.
Look
That's
at
right.
this.
What about that new tax incentive that just rolled its head around? Or, they just introduced it again. You get up to 5,000. You got windows changed, furnace change, all that kind of stuff. Has there ever been government, provincial, or federal incentives for these type of rooms?
I wouldn't say for rooms that are new, like building a new room, but like you said before, earlier in the conversation, those older rooms that need glass replaced. That would probably be something that those homeowners should consider, because I believe they still have to do an audit before to see what the energy efficiency of their home is.
Yeah.
You change the glass over, improve the efficiency of that room, and then that credit should apply. I believe we did that when they rolled that out. I think when they first rolled it out, that might have been like 8 or 10 years ago. They had a program like that.
Yeah.
if I
No, it
recall.
was
Energy Star
crazy.
rated stuff.
I was a
Yeah.
contractor when that happened. They were giving you money if you added a sump pump. They were giving you money if you added attic insulation, changed your windows, like all kinds of stuff where it made sense for people to do it. And the industry was crazy then. I mean, it's nuts now. I mean,
They just added a new one again.
Yeah, and I
when can you
believe-
do one now though? Like when's the next one you can sell for somebody? When's your next installation date?
Well, so for us, we're about a year out.
A
before
year
we can
out,
actually-
you see this?
before we can break ground. And in some
Break
cases,
ground.
in some cases, we're like a year and a half, depending on the level of approval that we have to get or how long it takes us to get
Yeah.
approval. So
But
we have
you-
people that signed up with us last April, and we just got their permit like last month, because it's taken so long to go through the process through conservation or committee or whatever
And
it
you-
is.
And you install this crap in the winter?
We do. We do.
Oh, it's the worst.
Don't tell
people
my
Yeah,
love
guys
tough.
that.
living
He's got
through that.
he's got a tough crew.
People
man. These
love
guys-
that.
You know
Oh,
what though?
yeah.
But some
Yeah,
of my
build a
guys actually
tent, man.
prefer they
Yeah.
prefer working in the winter, because you can always layer up. In the summertime, you can't go naked. It gets too
Yeah.
hot to work sometimes. So
Unless
in the
they're really
wintertime,
private backyard.
So
Real-
if you
real
want to
rural
work
setting.
naked, you
Yeah.
cannot go work for
Yeah.
Four Seasons Sunrooms.
no,
Unfortunately,
no, we're not a nudist.
this is where they draw the line. So hold on a sec. So How can we talk about Toronto's real estate market for a little bit
Yes,
here?
so
Absolutely.
fine.
Because if you're an investor, I mean, this all this sunroom stuff is really interesting and intriguing. But I mean, this is the Toronto real estate show. We got a real estate investor here. We got a realtor extraordinaire, and every once in a while, we got some good topics to talk about. The real estate market's fucking insane right now. But like, do sunrooms sell better in an insane market, or do they sell better when the market slows down? Do they sell better when there's a ton of inventory out there, or when it's a super tight inventory? Like in Toronto area, lack of product drives buyer mania, but there must be all kinds of people with all kinds of money sitting on the sidelines, not knowing what to do with their money. Like, are you getting a ton of extra business, or is it slower because of this craziness?
So I don't know if it's the market itself or if it's COVID, like as a result of why we're busier. But we've never been busier, so we have more increase than we've ever had. We're doing more projects than we've ever had, and more people are moving than they've ever moved before. Like a few months ago, I think everybody was moving at some point.
Is it like a lot of
Or
people are
swapping homes.
moving and adding a sunroom, and they want
Feels
to
like
add
it.
the sunroom before they move in, and it's like, sorry, we can't do it for a year and a half. Sorry.
There's a bit of that, and so sometimes people delay that, and like when we get settled in, then we'll consider doing this in the future.
Or is it mainly people that are just already living in the house and are like, it's
I don't
time
want
for
to
the
move. I
sunroom?
want more
Yeah.
space.
Typically
And I don't
for
want
us,
the
it's
cost of moving.
These
real
government
safety,
checks
land
finally
transfer
helped us
tax.
afford the sunroom, Larry.
This should be a part of the Four Seasons sales pitch, right? You bring like a spreadsheet. You put like, here's your real estate fees to sell. Here's your land transfer tax to sell. Here's the moving cost to
Yeah.
sell. You're gonna have to paint. You're gonna have to do all the
Sunroom.
things to personalize the new home. It's the same cost as you just adding the square footage on
Well,
with the sunroom.
Well,
And you
you're
don't have
right.
to move.
Our typical addition is about 100 grand. So, you're talking about the cost of moving. I believe the average is like 200K plus. So this definitely is a lot
Yeah.
less expensive.
You don't know who
route
your
to
neighbors
go.
are going to be the next
Yep.
time you move.
Yep.
The neighbors
Yep.
could be jerks.
There's merit in improving versus moving for sure.
Don't take any chances on your neighbors. Build a sunroom.
But I think what people have realized is they want to make their home as comfortable as possible, wherever that home is, whether it's their current home or a future home, they want to make it theirs. They want to have, a comfortable space to live in, something, and again, from our perspective, something that typically funnels the home with natural light or floods the home with natural light. So there's
Yeah.
like we try to talk about the benefits of being outdoors, which we don't really have that luxury 6 months of the year because it's typically too cold. So a lot of people are missing vital nutrients, even like from vitamin D
Vitamin
and the
D.
sunlight,
Yeah.
right? And so
Ooh,
I
it's a
believe our sunrooms.
COVID fighter.
I think so.
It's that
Vitamin
Absolutely.
D boosting
depression,
COVID
anxiety,
fighting.
For sure.
loneliness,
For sure.
all that kind of stuff.
Wow,
Yeah.
sure.
look at that. Get loan. Now that actually makes sense.
Sitting on that couch in the sun every single day for an hour,
Even
will
in the
improve your quality
winter.
of life.
In the
Absolutely.
winter
All
when
year
you
round.
can't go outside. Now
The
that's
name of
an
your
interesting
company, right?
thought.
Like Four Seasons Sunrooms, big company. You guys have the franchise throughout where now? Like I don't know. Before when you first
So-
started, I remember there was a
Yeah, so our
line,
landscape changed a little bit, but we were originally located in Durham and Whitby. About 6 years ago now, or 5 years ago, our territory expanded to cover the GTA. So we cover pretty much all of southern GTA. So from Keswick down to Mississauga to Bowmanville and everything in between.
So the GTA, yeah, the
Yeah.
GTA, York, Durham, Peel, Toronto. Those are the
Yeah,
areas that you guys
Pretty
cover.
much, yeah. Yep.
And
So
Four
what
Seasons
happened-
Sunrooms.
Sorry.
Is it an American company?
Yeah, so Four Seasons is an American manufacturer, and you could say it's an international company. So we're one of 300 plus locations in 25 different countries.
Yeah.
So
So this is
they're-
big. This is not
they're a
just
big
like
company.
some little small company that you
it's
guys figured this out in a
huge.
shop on Dufferin. It's
No,
like this is like a major.
Are
Yeah, so-
robots involved?
There's robots
Are
somewhere.
robots involved somewhere?
Somewhere.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Any automation or robots? So hold on a sec. So if Blog TO is right when they say Toronto's high risk housing market could be in for a rude awakening, does that, like, if they're right and this thing crashes and nobody's moving and everything goes to hell, what happens with sunrooms?
People will be
Good
happy
question.
sitting in their sunroom,
Is it
and
booming?
their house would be
Is
worth
it a
their house would be worth less than it was before, but they would be happy because
Right.
the sunlight.
sunroom boom? There's
It's the
the
same thing as
title.
saying they're going to change their kitchen or they're going to change their flooring or they're going to change their garage doors.
Where does it rank on the list of things to do? Like, where does conservatory or sunroom rank? You know, if you walk into a house and you're like, this is my list of things that I would love to have, where does sunroom rank for most people?
I think again, that would be very individualistic in terms of what their priorities are. And I'll tell you, nobody needs a sunroom or a conservatory. It's a want. It's a luxury item. It's a nice to have. But I'll tell you, if people are considering changing their kitchens, maybe the consideration of adding a sunroom or addition to that space can help them make their decisions around what they can do with their kitchen. You know, a lot of kitchens are stuck to the four walls that they're kind of built into, where we have the opportunity now to change that footprint and change that landscape, so it gives them more opportunity, more options to change their or make their dream kitchen possible.
Here's
So maybe
a
that's where the
scenario.
priority moves up a little
I'll
bit.
give you a scenario right now. That house that you're in right now, the identical house is next door, same view, everything.
Yep.
20 years from now, okay? Now that sunroom's 20 years old, the kitchen, the house, everything 20 years old. The next door neighbor lists their house for sale, and it's got a brand new kitchen, totally renovated, 2041 style, right? Which property listed for the same price? Which property is the better buy? The one with the sunroom that's already installed, right? Or the one that has the brand new kitchen right next door with no sunroom?
That's a good question.
I
wouldn't
with
have
the sunroom.
But are you sure
What
about
were
that?
the
'Cause
choices again? The sunroom or a
kitchen's
brand
the
new
number
kitchen?
one, right?
Yeah, because you can always put in a brand new kitchen.
TK.
You can always put in a brand new kitchen and change it. You got to wait 2 years to get that sunroom.
But let's be real. Come
What
on.
do you mean? More
This
square
is coming
footage.
from a taekwondo loving male, okay? Like, you, first of all, you're not making the decision, right?
Yeah.
And second of all, nobody cares what you think about this. What does your wife say? What does my
wife
wife
would take
say?
the kitchen. The kitchen. It's done. It's over. Look at
kitchen.
that. Look at that.
It's
Look at the neighbor next
beautiful.
door. It looks like
Look
a
at
freaking
that
slaughterhouse to the left.
pathetic neighbor next door with those
Okay.
gigantic,
windows.
beautiful windows.
Okay.
Forget about that guy. Okay.
Yeah.
The guy next to him, that guy's house sucks compared to this one completely. But
Yeah,
it's a beautiful sunroom.
that's amazing. Wow.
This is a very, there's no doubt that these things are beautiful. But if the choice 1.5, 1.5, and one has a rundown kitchen and a beautiful conservatory, and the other one has a brand new kitchen, it wouldn't definitely just jump to either, but I would imagine that most women, maybe that's not true.
Look at that sunroom. Look at that. Look at that picture. I'm glad you changed the picture. Look at that.
Yeah.
What's underneath it? What's underneath?
So let me give you some context there. So this is a two-story extension.
Two-story sunroom.
So the basement got extended. The main dining or living area got extended.
Yeah.
There's a deck that's off the main living area, which is waterproof. So downstairs is completely covered and protected. So now you have, basically you created 4 spaces with this extension. So there's the basement, the upstairs deck, and the lower deck. The lower deck has a hot tub. About that, yeah.
$600,000.
Look at that thing. That is amazing. Holy smokes.
So hold on a sec. What does it sound like? What does it sound like in the house when it rains?
Kind of nice. It's actually, that's one of the coolest times to be in one of these glass rooms, is when it's raining or really, really shitty outside. When there's blizzards and storms. I mean, you'll hear it a bit because you're going to hear it on the glass, but it's actually quite a nice sound and quite a nice feeling.
Yeah, my son, maybe they've changed the technology, but my sunroof is friggin' loud when it rains.
So it sounds like you have a solid roof, kind of tin, aluminum kind of roof panel, potentially.
I don't know. I got a sun, like a sun. What's it called? Skylight. And it's friggin' loud, man, when it rains.
Is it the bubble? The bubble?
Probably. Like, it's hard to tell from down where I can see it, but it seems that like it would be. Yeah.
Yeah, that might be the acrylic or the plastic nature of the bubble versus
hard glass.
We lost him.
No,
yeah, there was a glitch there.
You're back.
I'm back.
All right. So Darryl, what do you think about real estate in Toronto and getting a sunroom? Like, look at this house is in Whitby. Imagine it was in the Danforth, right?
Holy. I think it's like, it's definitely a personal thing. It's definitely not for anybody, but like, wow, I know for a fact that if my wife could have something like that, like my wife dreams of having like a round kind of conservatory off the kitchen with like a round table to kind of sit and have breakfast and lunch in, you know? And even another kind of room just off of it that's all glass to like grow garden, like vegetables and stuff like that and plants in. So I know we would definitely do this, in a heartbeat if we had the space for it.
You could do it off your kitchen at the new place. That
TK,
the bay window.
please. You have no idea how long this list of things to do is on this house.
Not right away, but it would be
It's
possible.
ridiculous. They
where you
have a
could have it-
week.
Yeah.
This
Look
is
at that.
typically what
Oh, what's
this
this?
is typically what you'd find is, well, that was a bad photo. So there was a newly renovated kitchen, and the solarium's off the kitchen, which is like a living area. This was actually it was one of our rooms, but I found these real estate photos on a listing when I was looking around, and I thought they were great. The listing talked highly about the sunroom, talked about the additional living
Look
space.
at that.
I believe this helped sell the home.
For sure.
Um,
That's like a family room off the kitchen.
Yeah.
Right. So you
Yeah.
got like a sitting area that you can just like relax. Like that's where I would be all the time.
Yeah. And in a market like this, like out of the 8,000 offers that every house is getting, like somebody's loving that sunroom and paying more for the house because of it, for sure.
Yeah. If they
Right?
know the cost of it, then it's like,
No
I don't want to
doubt.
wait 2 years. I want this right away. And then
Somebody
yeah,
wants it
square
for
footage.
sure.
So this is the reason I asked about Toronto is because in Durham, adding, I don't know what the average square footage of a sunroom is, 300 square feet. I don't know. Is that fair to say?
Probably pretty big, no?
300?
you could say that.
150,
What is it, 200? I don't
200.
know. Okay, so let's say 200 square feet. Adding 200 square feet onto a 3,000 square foot house isn't that significant. But adding 200 square feet onto a 1,200 or 1,300 square foot house, right? Like
Makes
you
a
go
difference. Yep.
with a semi, and all of
Yep.
a sudden you got 1,200 square feet over 2 floors, and you put on a 200 square foot addition out the back, and you can basically put your whole kitchen in there. You could do a family room that you didn't have. You could
Mhm.
have a lot of different things, an office space.
What a great
that-
space to have had during the lockdowns, though. Like, especially in the winter. Like, man, that must have been nice to have something like that. Just to still feel like you're kind of outside more and all that vitamin D and sunlight.
Yep,
but
absolutely.
by judging by the
What's
pictures, you guys
behind
don't
that?
you don't do a lot of urban houses.
No, we do. It's just more challenging to build. There's more regulation. There's more chances of going to committee of adjustment when you're in the smaller, tighter neighborhoods in terms of the lot sizes. So this is actually in the Danforth. So what's behind them is one of their
Okay.
covered carports,
Sneaky
garage
guy,
type
look at him.
space. And so because we're in a row house, you can't have glass on the sides because of fire code and ratings and those kind of things. So
Oh,
it,
cool.
it makes our life a little bit more difficult because we want to put more glass in, but we can't always do that. So we have to follow the building code and the rules for that. So in this case, we have the whole front wall of glass and the entire ceiling of glass to allow that kitchen that we added on to not to get darker.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of people that add on to their home, typically they add off the kitchen or off the family room. And one of their biggest concerns is how dark is my kitchen going to get? With the glass roof, that doesn't really happen, which is why we try to encourage people to maybe build that kind of extension because of the benefits of that light.
What is this? This is going down from the kitchen to an eating area and then around to a staircase to the basement?
Correct. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah,
look at that.
so
That's a fireplace in the middle.
Yeah, so that's a
Wow.
propane fireplace there. That flame has been superimposed. It's actually not that big.
Oh.
But so they had an old walkout basement, which was one of those old, covered outdoor just walkout basements.
Yeah.
And they always had water issues with the basement leaking and the staircase causing issues. So one of their goals was, okay, let's enclose this. Let's incorporate the staircase into the room so we don't have to worry about that again.
Cool. Well, that's a
So we
good
solved
idea.
Not bad.
we solved quite a lot of problems there. And originally when we applied for this, we applied for a much bigger room. And through the committee of adjustment process and come into an agreement with the neighbors, we have to make some reductions to the size.
Yeah, I think a town in Toronto would have more objections from the neighbors than
Yeah.
a detached house in North Whitby.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Look at,
A little bit more.
there's a
Plus,
house
that's probably
here.
like a 16-foot lot.
Check this out.
Probably,
This would have this house here needed a sunroom 100 million% here. Look at this. Designer renovated Scarborough home sells at 1.85 million list price this thing would have gone for over 2. Look how like this thing needs a sunroom. Look at this beautiful old house, right?
On Beach Grove.
Yeah. Look at that. Like
Oh,
how
wow.
badly does this thing need a sunroom? Look how much better this back portion would look with a sunroom.
I'll tell you, it's not an easy place to put one though.
Oh, why?
They made it very well. It looks like there's a lot of challenging roof lines.
Just put
There's
it
a lot
all
of
over the
windows.
whole pool. Indoor pool.
That's a whole different ball game.
You
Yeah,
guys
you're
have
right. though. That's-
retractable. You guys
Yeah.
have retractable pool covers. Like
We don't. There are products out there that are retractable. You don't typically get into glass unless you're getting into motorized, and then that you're talking about, probably $500,000 starting point. So there are things like that in the marketplace. We typically do a fixed glass ceiling, and a pool enclosure might happen one every 10 years based on the size of them and the scale.
Well, they said we couldn't do it, TK, but this was an unbelievably interesting show about sunrooms. Well done,
Absolutely.
gentlemen. Good job.
Absolutely. Thanks, Matt. Now give us a shameless
you
plug.
so
Where can
much.
people find you?
Well, you can find us at fourseasons-sunrooms.com, or if you just Google Four Seasons Sunrooms GTA, you'd find our Instagram links, whatever social profiles we have. One of the coolest things, if I could just make a plug, we did a Life Room for Life giveaway last year. We wanted to give back to the healthcare workers through the whole COVID pandemic. So we did a draw. We did like a nomination thing throughout the city, and we drew a winner, and we just finished their project. That video is going up online as of, I think, next week. The whole progression of what we built for them, and we're really excited that we got a chance to do that, and wanted to give something back to those people.
Awesome. That's amazing.
Congratulations on that. That's amazing.
I think your first podcast was a success, and I'm sure that all the big media outlets will be calling you now
Oh, I
because
can't
of
wait.
you being on the Toronto Real Estate Show.
That's right.
We got a great referral program, so thank you for whatever referrals we get out of this.
Just mention Toronto Real Estate Show at checkout for a 10% discount.
That's right.
That's right. That's right.
Awesome.
Right after he jacks it up 20%.
11.
That's-
No, it's all good.
No worries.
All right, Matt, I
All good.
appreciate it.
No, thank you guys very much. It was a pleasure.
Enjoy the rest
Awesome.
of your Sunday.
You got
Thank
it.
you.
Thanks, guys. Bye.